Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Homebuying 101 with Manasquan Bank. My name is Juliana Nicholson, and I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager here at Manasquan Bank and your moderator for this evening's seminar. We have a great presentation planned for tonight, but before we get started, we do want to remind everyone that we are recording this presentation so that we can share with those who are not able to join us. We also want to ask that you please remain muted, and if you have a question to ask the experts, please use the chat feature located in the top navigation bar, and we'll be sure to address each question at the end of the presentation. We have received several questions already, some of which may be answered during the call, but we'll be sure to answer as many as possible. All right, so for those that aren't familiar with Manasquan Bank, we have been dedicated to helping our communities grow and thrive for 150 years now, since 1874, with mortgages, construction loans, business loans, and everyday banking like checkings and savings accounts. We operate 15 branch locations, and our clients can digitally open deposit accounts and apply for residential loans through our website. As technology has evolved, so has traditional banking capabilities, and we take pride in providing our clients with the latest banking solutions. We are known for our friendly and knowledgeable staff who are ready to help you attain your goals, whether it be for personal finance, business management, loans, and more. Speaking of our friendly and knowledgeable staff, we do have two members of our team with us here tonight. Robert Hart, our SVP, Director of Residential Lending, and Ralph Tancredi Sr., our SVP, Residential Lending Sales Manager. Bob and Ralph, thank you guys so much for joining as our speakers for the evening.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So in tonight's presentation, we'll be sharing an overview of the home buying process from start to close, including how to select the right team of realtors, lenders, attorneys, closing agents, title companies, and a review of various mortgage options available, including Manasquan Bank's first-time home buyer loan, Home Start, and our low to moderate income programs, third-party resources for more information, and of course, next steps. Okay, so let's dive in. I'm now going to turn it over to Bob to kick us off with some of the reasons you might be looking to buy.
Thank you, Juliana. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for attending. We truly appreciate it. Hopefully you'll find it a meaningful experience. We want to make this, as Juliana said, an interactive session, so please ask questions. Don't be bashful, and we also want to be respectful of your time. So we are scheduled from 6 to 7, but again, if you submit questions and are unable to get to them today, we will get back to you. What we want to look at here is there are many reasons why you want to look to buy a home. At this point, maybe you're relocating for a job, maybe you need more space, or maybe you just want to know, is now the time to own, or do I still want to rent? Just remember that during this whole process of home buying, take your time to understand the process and do your homework at every step. At this point, what I think we're going to do is, Ralph, if you want to spend a few minutes and talk about budgeting.
Oh, Ralph, I think you might be muted.
I'm very sorry. Good evening, everyone. Once again, thank you for taking time from your day to join us here tonight. I hope when we are finished, you'll have a better understanding of the overall homeownership process. So let's get started. The first topic I would like to discuss with you pertains to budgeting for home ownership. One of the most important things to consider when purchasing a home is the amount of the monthly payment you will be comfortable with. Now, your monthly mortgage payment consists of principal, interest, real estate taxes, homeowners insurance, if applicable, PMI, which stands for private mortgage insurance, and also, if applicable, flood insurance. But you need to be aware of some other monthly costs of owning a home. For example, if you're buying a condominium or a townhome, you'll be responsible for monthly homeowners association fees. And the amount of the monthly homeowner association fees will vary depending on the amenities that are offered in the complex you are interested in buying. The more amenities offered, the higher the monthly homeowner association fees. You also need to consider other expenses, such as your utilities, gas, electric, water, and sewer, everyday miscellaneous home upkeep expenses, general repairs and things like that. You're going to have to eat, so you have to remember your grocery bill, your monthly consumer debts, such as any auto loans, leases, student loan payments, and minimum payments due on credit cards. You have to take all of this in consideration when determining what type of a property or home you want to buy and the budget you need for your mortgage payment. Another thing that's very important is you want to make sure you have money set aside for reserves for any unexpected life events, such as temporarily being unable to work due to a health issue, major home repairs that might be popping up, such as your hot water heater may need to be repaired or replaced. Your furnace or air conditioning unit may need to be replaced. Windows, roof, and so forth. So you want to go into this thinking about not only the monthly mortgage payment, but all the other expenses that are going to be coming about every month. So now I want to turn it back over to Bob so he can discuss some of the topics regarding your credit.
Thank you, Ralph. Keep in mind that when you purchase a home, rent a car, apply for a credit card, your credit scores are very, very important. What they are is really an indication of how you're able to handle your credit that you're offered. So for example, if you have a credit card and you pay it on time, that's a good thing. Same thing with auto loans, same thing with any mortgages. Keep in mind that what you see here, the four major credit bureaus, three, Experian and TransUnion. Credit Karma is a service that's offered out there that many consumers use. So this way they can have an idea what their credit score looks like. Many financial institutions or credit cards also offer you the ability to find out what your score is. Keep in mind the scores from Credit Karma and those other scores from institutions may differ from what you would get directly from a credit bureau. You are also entitled as a consumer, according to law, that you can receive one free credit report annually directly from the credit bureaus.
And Bob, we did have a couple of questions from our viewers. One of them
Sure.
was, what's the fastest way to improve your FICO score?
That's a great question. So the credit bureaus themselves, they have a special algorithm that they use in order to make up the credit scores. No one really knows, but what again it takes into account is the amount of credit that you have, the percentage in use. So example, if you have a $5,000 credit limit on a credit card and you have $4,000 used, that would go against you. They also look at the number of inquiries. What that means is when you apply for a loan, a credit card, any type of auto loan, consumer loan, they run your credit. There's what's called a hard inquiry, which says this person is applying for credit. If you have too many of those hard inquiries, that could also negatively affect your score. Getting back to the question, there are a couple of things you could do. Keep your balances on your credit cards under 50% usage. Again, if you have a $1,000 limit, keep it under $500. Make sure you pay it on time. There's no harm in paying it off sooner. There's no harm in carrying lesser balance. Typically keep it under 50%. The second thing you want to do is pay down your debt. So if you have 10 credit cards and 9 of them have balances, maybe you want to consolidate them. Again, try to stick to that 50% rule. And also, like I mentioned before, keep your inquiries to a minimum. Don't keep going out and applying for credit because, again, too many hits on your credit will or could adversely affect your credit score. So one way, again, is just make sure you keep your balances down and pay things on time.
Those are great tips. Thank you, Bob. And another question we received is, are there opportunities for people who may not have great credit?
So I'll jump in on that one. And also going back to your FICO score and like Bob was speaking about, if you know you're going to be applying for a mortgage or you're going to go out home shopping in the near future, you want to pay down those balances prior to having your credit run. It's very important to do that. The other thing too is if you do have a lack of credit, you might want to, if you're currently renting, it's very important to pay your rent by check rather than by money orders or cash, because we can show the payment history that you've been paying your rent on time, and it just helps to build your credit profile in case you do have a lack of credit showing up on your credit report. Now getting back to, are there opportunities for people who may not have great credit? Yes, there are. Here at Manasquan Bank, we not only look at credit scores, we look at the individual credit profile. Okay, so maybe there's an isolated incident that brought your credit scores down. We take that into consideration. We're going to look at the whole credit report. You know, that's the beauty of being a community bank. You know, we all make our decisions right here. We look at each loan individually. And that's where we differ from the bigger banks or the online providers. They just look at your credit scores and say, yes, we can help you, or no, we cannot. Here at Manasquan Bank, we look at each individual credit report and we make an educated decision on lending to the borrower.
Great, thank you guys. So can you talk to us a little bit more about some trigger leads?
Sure. So, Juliana, what's happening now is many of you who are attending may have received credit card offers in the mail. You may receive offers for auto loans, student loans. They are all looking at your information as it appears on the individual credit bureaus, and people pay for that information. So what happens with a trigger lead is you would go, let's say you apply for a mortgage with Manasquan Bank. Conceivably, what could happen is you apply, somebody's buying your information. The credit bureaus own the information. They turn around and are able to sell that information to third parties. So they may be looking for anybody that's applied for a mortgage that's been in their present apartment for 3 years. They've been on their job for 5 years. They have good credit. They will buy those leads and then solicit you for business. We are not selling information. The bank doesn't sell information. This comes directly from the credit bureaus themselves to a third party. What you can do and what we recommend our clients to do, or potential clients, is there are ways that you can protect yourself. As it states on the screen, you can opt out of pre-screened offers. What that means is if you opt out of a pre-screened offer, you may have good credit, everything may be great, you may be getting offers, you will no longer get offers. You can also register with the Do Not Call registry. That should keep you off the list. And there are other things you could do with the consumer, contact the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. One thing you could do before applying for a mortgage, and our loan officers would counsel you for this, you could opt out, let us run your credit, and then you can opt back in. This way, you should not get phone calls from other people who may have bought information, but you could still get the offers for good credit cards and auto loan rates and things like that. Location, location, location. When you are looking for a home, there are many things to consider. And as I mentioned earlier, this process cannot start early enough. Just like when you buy a car or you go out and go to a restaurant, you know what you want. It's the same thing when you buy a house. Some of the common things that people look for are what's here. You want to look for centrality where you are, maybe to your work, to where your family is. You want to look for the right neighborhood. Maybe you want to be in a development. Maybe you want to live by the shore near the water, or you like open land, space. Maybe you want to live in an urban area, grab a condo or a townhouse and live in an urban area. Many people, they also look at the school systems. School systems are very important for those individuals who have children or are thinking of having children. Again, proximity to work. And there's also the consideration, as Ralph briefly mentioned before, about a flood zone. Keep in mind that if you buy a house in a flood zone, you're most likely going to be required to have flood insurance, which is another monthly expense. I highly encourage everybody through the process to start early. Even if you think you're not going to buy for a year, drive around, get an idea where you want to live, discuss what kind of features you're looking for, what kind of neighborhood you're looking for. So this way, when you're ready, you will be that much more prepared. Home features. Home features are another great item that people should consider. Do you want that pool? Do you want that open floor plan? 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms? Do you want a ranch that's all on 1 floor? Do you want a colonial or bi-level that has 2 floors? Take a look at all different models. You may think that you want a ranch and like 1 floor living, then all of a sudden you realize, you know what? I really like to have the master bedroom or the bedrooms upstairs. So again, if you start early, go out, even if it's not in the neighborhood, even if you drive by an open house, just go in, take a look. The more you know, the more information you have, the better off you'll be in choosing where you want to go. You may think you want one thing and you'll see something else, you go, I never considered that. Don't be bashful in this process. Whether you ask your realtor, whether you ask your lender, whether you ask your attorney, it doesn't matter. Don't be bashful. Open houses. As I just briefly mentioned, you want to go learn floor plans. Do you like the idea that the family room is near the kitchen? Do you like the idea of having the master suite downstairs or the bedroom downstairs? check out the layouts, look at the flow of the home. Some people like the idea of not having an open floor plan. In this day and age, don't be bashful. Look at magazines, look on the internet, take a look. You're not just buying, as I've said here today, you're not just buying a house for today. It may not be your forever house, but don't just buy to say this is good for the next year. Again, if you're looking to have a family, you want to make sure that you have enough bedrooms. You want to make sure that you have enough space to grow. Or additionally, you want to make sure that maybe there's room in the backyard that you can expand onto the house if you had to. So I can't stress enough, always look at the options. It's similar to buying a car. When you go to buy a car, you don't buy the first one, you take a look at the features. It's the same thing with the house, just on a much, much larger scale.
Okay, so our next topic is the current housing market. The housing market it's ever changing. Today's current housing market is very challenging to home buyers. We are currently in a seller's market, meaning that most of the homes are selling at or above asking price. The reason being is there a lack of inventory. In other words, not many houses on the market for sale. There are multiple and competitive bids on each home listed for sale. When you find something you like, you need to act quickly to make an offer on the home. Another challenge in this market are the mortgage rates. Mortgage rates are almost at the highest they've been in 13 years. So what that does is it doesn't allow you to buy an expensive home or as expensive home as you would have liked to. So that also limits the amount of homes that you can purchase. So that's another reason why this housing market is very challenging to home buyers. But be assured, here at Manasquan Bank, we'll help you face this challenge by helping you to be prepared. We will educate you on the different mortgage options that we offer, and we'll assist you in quickly obtaining a pre-approval so that you can make an offer on a home. All right, so this leads me to my next topic of discussion.
Ralph, can I just jump in there for one second?
Sure.
I just want to remind everybody that while I mentioned before, may not be your forever home, keep in mind that you're also not married to your rate. What I mean by that is, even though mortgage rates are at a high right now, we are hoping and everybody's hopeful that they're not going to remain there. Nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows. We don't know either. But keep in mind, if you can afford it at today's rate, don't get discouraged. The only thing I can say is don't get discouraged. You're not married to a rate. It's not a lifetime rate. You can always move in the house. You can always refinance. There are options out there. And again, we'd be here available to talk to you about those options.
Exactly, Bob. That's something that I'm going to touch on in this next section here during the mortgage process. I'm glad you brought it up, but I'm going to touch on it again. So the mortgage process begins with working with a loan officer so that he or she can assist you with getting pre-approved for a mortgage. Your loan officer should be very experienced and licensed. And the reason you want to deal with a licensed loan officer is a licensed loan officer is required to complete annual continuing education courses. We're not just registered, we are actually licensed, meaning we need to continue to learn and fulfill these continuing education requirements. You should also consider using a local community bank instead of an online mortgage provider, which, they're normally located out of the state, and most of the times they're very impersonal. Here at Manasquan Bank, you're going to be able to talk to your loan officer whenever needed. You can reach them day, night, weekends. You reach them in the office. Our office lines are forwarded to our cell phones, so you'll be able to reach us at any time. And once you start working with one loan officer, you're going to continue working with that loan officer. You're not going to be, assigned to different loan officers during the mortgage process. So that's very, very important. We pride ourselves on responsive and personal service. You want to be careful of excessive lender fees if you're dealing with other online mortgage providers and mortgage brokers and mortgage bankers. Lender fees are typically much higher with them as compared to Manasquan Bank. With Manasquan Bank, we are the lender. We are not the middleman, so there is no need to charge excessive lender fees. So when you're talking with your loan officer, you need to discuss what mortgage options are available to you that fit your individual needs. Do you prefer a fixed rate or an adjustable rate mortgage? And as Bob had touched on before, the interest rates right now are high. Okay, so adjustable rate mortgages, they offer lower interest rates, and an adjustable rate mortgage may be a good option for a first-time home buyer, or in this, because you're in a high interest rate environment. This first home, like Bob said, most likely it's not going to be your forever home. Normally first-time home buyers sell their first home within 5 to 7 years. And a lot of first-time home buyers these days are considering the 7-year ARM instead of a 30-year fixed mortgage. Now, with a 30-year fixed mortgage, it's just like it says. The interest rate is going to be fixed for 30 years. With the 7-year ARM, the interest rate is a little bit lower, and the interest rate is fixed for the first 7 years, and then it'll adjust after that. At any time, you can always refinance out of any more residential mortgage you're in. In the state of New Jersey, there's no prepayment penalty for refinancing or paying off your mortgage early if you want to take advantage of lower interest rate markets. Another thing you want to discuss with your loan officer is what amount is required for a down payment and closing costs. As a rule of thumb, closing costs normally average about 3% of the purchase price of the home they're looking to purchase. And regarding your down payment, you can put as much down as you want, or as little as 5% down to stay into a conventional deal. Excuse me. Normally, if you purchase a home and you put less than 20% down, you're going to be required to pay private mortgage insurance, or PMI. PMI is a monthly charge that's added to your mortgage payment. Here at Manasquan Bank, for first-time home buyers and low to moderate income borrowers, if you have the ability to put 15% down, Manasquan Bank will waive the PMI requirement, and we will not increase your interest rate or add additional fees to your closing costs. It's our own exclusive product, and it's very, very popular here. Okay, so once you know the mortgage program, the amount you may offer, and the down payment you will be making, it is important to get the pre-approval letter from your loan officer. And you want to get a pre-approval letter as compared to a pre-qualification letter. And I'll explain the differences to you between the two. With a pre-qualification letter, what the loan officer is doing is may not run your credit, and they're taking verbal information from you over the phone. So they're going to ask you how much you make and how much money you have for a down payment. So they're relying on the information you're giving them. And you may give them incorrect information, no fault of your own. You're not sure how a lender or an underwriter is going to look at the sources of how you earn your income or the assets that you have in your bank account. So what we do here, and what should be done every time, is we gather, not only do we run your credit, but we're going to gather your income and asset information so that we can analyze it. And what we're going to look at is, first, I'm going to look at your income. How is your income derived? Are you self-employed? Are you a salary wage earner? If you're self-employed, what that means is we use net income for qualifying purposes. So a lot of times when we talk to borrowers over the phone and we're getting information from them and we ask them how much they make, and they say, well, I'm self-employed and I make $100,000 a year. Well, that could be their gross income, not net after business expenses. And the net income is what's used to qualify yourself for a mortgage. We also analyze if you're receiving pay stubs, we analyze your pay stubs. Are you getting paid a salary? Are you getting paid hourly? If you're getting paid hourly, we have to average your hourly income over the last 2 years. So if you were working part-time and you all of a sudden went full-time, we have to account for that. Another very important item regarding income is, are you in sales? Are you earning commission income? To use commission income to qualify for a mortgage, you have to have a 2-year history of receiving commission income. And we have to average the income the commission income over the last 2 years. So again, if I'm interviewing somebody over the phone and they say, yes, I'm in sales and my commissions are $100,000. And then I get their pay stubs and their W-2s and I see last year that they only earned $50,000 in commissions. And this year they earned $100,000 in commissions. I can't use the 100,000 for qualifying. I have to average over the last 2 years. So I'm going to take the 50,000 and the 100,000, add it together, divide it by 2 years, and your qualifying commission income is actually 75,000 when you thought it might have been 100,000. So these are all the different reasons why we gather the documentation. We want to make sure that we're issuing a valid pre-approval letter to you and to your realtor. Another thing that I look at when I gather the documentation is the borrower's assets. I look at their bank accounts. If there is a large deposit in your bank account, that raises a red flag for myself and also the underwriter, because we have to know where those large deposits came from. Were they a gift from family members, which is absolutely 100% allowed, or was it a loan that you have to repay? So that's the reason why we collect and analyze your bank statements, to see what assets you have, how long you've had them, and if there's any large deposits that are well in excess of your monthly income. Any good realtor is going to want to get a pre-approval letter from you, and Manasquan Bank, we only issue pre-approval letters here. Another thing to note, and this is extremely important, when you're going through the pre-approval process and your credit has been run, you don't want to go out and charge up or open up new credit cards or buy a new car or lease a new car, because those additional debts could cause you not to qualify. If you absolutely have to buy a new car or lease a new car, discuss it with your loan officer to make sure this new mortgage payment does not make you not qualify or for a new mortgage.
So Ralph, I guess it's not a good idea for me to go out and buy that furniture right away for the new house I'm getting ready to close on.
Yeah, that was the next thing I was going to say. You get your pre-approval, you're through the mortgage process, you got your mortgage commitment and so forth, and now you're like, all right, everything's done. I just have to wait to close. Don't go out and charge up your credit cards or open up new credit cards to buy furniture, because all that has to be taken into account to see if you'll still qualify for the loan. So you want to wait till your loan transaction closes before you buy furniture, make any new major purchases, and so forth. All right, and I'll touch on that again later. So regarding the mortgage process, the typical timeline to close on a purchase transaction is normally 30 to 45 days. There's a lot of moving parts to consider with a purchase mortgage application. The moving parts are the other individuals that are involved. How quickly your attorney, the title insurance company, the survey company will act will affect the timing of the closing. We can close very quickly, but sometimes we're delayed by individuals, because they're not acting as timely as they should. Most attorneys and title companies know in this day and age that sellers are looking for a quick closing, so they're going to make sure that they do their part to move the transaction as quickly as possible. All right, I'm done for now, so I'm going to turn it back over to Bob so he can discuss the first-time home buyer and low to moderate income programs that we offer.
Awesome. And real quick, before we get to that, we do have a couple of questions in the chat. Ralph, one of the questions we received was, how long are you pre-approved for, and what are the fees if you have to reapply, or does it vary from lender to lender?
Okay, so when we issue a pre-approval letter, it's good for 120 days. Okay, and like I said, if something changes in your income, your job, you lose a job, you switch jobs, or you're making a large purchase, that could void that pre-approval. So you want to make sure if any changes are going to happen or could happen, talk to the loan officer. But a pre-approval is good for 120 days if nothing changes in the scenario that we used to pre-approve you originally. And I'm sorry, what was the second question?
So the second question actually touches upon our Home Start program. So I think we can go ahead and move on to our next slide with Bob to answer that. They asked, so we can put 15% down and not pay PMI. What about for first-time home buyers?
Okay, that's a great question. So Juliana, before, but I just want to mention with pre-approvals, keep in mind that if you go to look for a house, as Ralph mentioned before, it's still very, very competitive. You may not get that home. So Ralph or any other loan officer here at Manasquan Bank will look at the scenario. If you go for another house, we'll look at that scenario and can provide another pre-qualification letter. You're not limited to one, even though Ralph said they're good for 120 days. It actually goes by the home that you're looking at. So again, don't be bashful. Come back, speak to your loan officer, say, I lost out on that house. We're looking at another one. They'll be more than happy to prepare a letter. Okay, so Juliana, that was a 15% down question.
Yes, they
So
asked 15% down and not paying PMI. What about for first-time home buyers? If you'd like to share about our Home Start program.
sure. So here at Manasquan Bank, we have our own little hybrid home start program for first-time home buyers. We will allow the first-time home buyer, providing you've never owned a home, to put 15% down, no mortgage insurance. If you open up an account with Manasquan Bank and we become your bank and you have your payment directly taken out, we will take 1/8 off the rate. Additionally, we will refund the $250 application fee at closing. So what we're really trying to do is recognize that your first time buying a house, trying to help you out where we can. You'll also see on this slide that we also offer low to moderate income households as well, which is the identical program to the first time home buyer. Income limits for those programs depend on each county. So whether you're in Ocean, Middlesex, Monmouth, Union, we will look at your income by county and then determine if you meet the qualifications for that program. The 15% down and the refund of the application fee and the 1/8 off the rate is Manasquan Bank's program, regardless of where you live, providing you're a first-time home buyer.
Bob,
You'll
if I
also-
could just, sorry, if I could just
Sure.
jump in there one minute, regarding the exclusive first-time home buyer and low moderate, excuse me, the first-time home buyer program that we have here. There are no income limitations with our first-time home buyer program, and that's important to know. So if you make a lot of money and you're buying a very expensive house, you still can get your first-time home buyer program here with Manasquan Bank, 15% down, no PMI. And like Bob said, you can get the 1/8 off the interest rate if you have your mortgage payments automatically deducted from a Manasquan Bank, and we will refund the $250 application fee. Now, our exclusive program differs to the ones out there that are offered with the grants, but I just wanted you to be aware that you still could qualify for our exclusive program. Sorry, Bob.
No, great point, Ralph. Great point. You'll see at the bottom of the page, the Federal Home Loan Bank offers what's called the Home Buyer Dream Program, where they will give you a grant for free up to $19,500 that you could use for a down payment, $500 towards home counseling program, which you would have to attend in order to qualify for the grant. And again, that program has income limits by county. As Ralph mentioned, our overall first-time home buyer program doesn't, but in order to qualify for the Federal Home Loan Bank program, there are county income limits. There are other programs out there through the individual counties, whether it's, again, Monmouth, Ocean, Middlesex, and we'll be more than happy to help you look at those options as well. Those too could be used to offset a down payment and or closing costs. So they're out there. Get involved with your lender. Again, here at Manasquan Bank, we're very, very connected to the counties. We're very connected to the Federal Home Loan Bank, so we'll be able to walk you through this process. I believe
Okay.
Ralph.
Yep, thank you. So let's talk about your real estate agent, finding the correct real estate agent. It is important to find a real estate agent that is active in the business and very experienced. In this competitive housing market that we have, you need a real estate agent that is very experienced and extremely active. Some of the questions you should ask your realtor when deciding on who to use, ask them if they work alone or if they work with a team. A team can help cover for your agent when your agent might not be available. Make sure that your agent has a sense of urgency when dealing with you and the property that you might be looking to purchase. Ask your agent if they're familiar with the areas that you're looking in. That's very important. You don't want to use a real estate agent that might not be familiar with the areas that you're looking to purchase a home. And ask them, say, hey, have you received any performance awards? Realtors love to be recognized for the awards they receive based on their annual performance. So don't be afraid to ask them these questions. You and your realtor need to be prepared to move quickly in this competitive housing market. So you want to make sure you're using the correct real estate agent. All right. So let's talk about the roles of the real estate agents. The agent's main role should be to find the right house for you. Okay, not for your in-laws, not for your parents, but the right house for you. That should be the most important item they focus on, the right house for you. Again, going back to the pre-approval letters, they should present to the sellers a pre-approval letter that you've gotten from a loan officer. They're gonna, when you decide that you want to make an offer, they will submit your offer, and again, they will attach your pre-approval letter. So what happens if your offer is accepted? The next thing that'll happen is the attorney review process will begin. And this process normally takes 3 days to conclude. If needed, your real estate agent can assist in the attorney review process and getting it to end. It is important to get your attorney review process to end as quickly as possible so that no other offers can be considered on the home.
Ralph, I'm sorry, can you just provide a little more detail on what exactly an attorney review is?
Sure. So what happens is your attorney will review the sales contract that has been completed by your realtor. They will make sure that the sales contract is in your favor or not swayed to the sellers in any way where they have more advantages. So what happens during the attorney review period, your attorney and the seller's attorney are going to go back and forth on different items that are listed in the sales contract. And then they'll make some changes where it's fair to both parties. Once they've decided that the contract and any addendums or adjustments to it are fair to both parties and everybody agrees, then the attorney review period is concluded. And like I said, once the attorney review period is concluded, there should be no other offers that can be considered. As long as your attorney puts that in the attorney review letters that, once attorney review period is concluded, no other offers can be accepted. You will find some sellers will be sticklers about that, and they still want to be able to entertain offers when the attorney review period is concluded. Were there any other questions on the attorney review period, Bob?
No. I just, again, many times you and I in the business talk the lingo and we understand it, but for the consumer, somebody buying their home, it's a tough experience. It could be a traumatic experience. And to your point, your attorney may go in there and you may see something wrong and you may want money for repairs, and part of the negotiation process is the seller's going to say, no, I'm selling it as is. So it's important that just people understand how important you have a good attorney to look at the process.
Yes, you're absolutely 100% correct. And especially in this housing market where it's a seller's market, a lot of times the sellers are not going to bend on some minor repair issues or credits that the buyer is looking for. But again, a good attorney will fight for you. All right, so let's move on. So let's go over some important events for the real estate agent to be involved with. Once attorney review is concluded, or sometimes even before attorney review is concluded, you're going to want to schedule a home inspection. I mean, let's face it, this is one of the biggest financial transactions you'll enter to in your life. So you want to make sure that your home that you're purchasing is in good condition. A home inspector is not only going to look at the house on the inside, he's going to look on the outside, he's going to look on the inside. He's going to look at every fine detail of that house to make sure there's no safety hazards. Is the electrical working properly and the plumbing? Are the appliances working properly? So a home inspector is very important. And what'll happen is your realtor should schedule the home inspection appointment as soon as possible. The next thing that'll occur, if everything goes well with the home inspection, is your loan officer will then schedule or order the home appraisal. So the home appraisal is ordered. The appraisal company will contact your realtor, and your realtor will set up a day and time that's convenient for both to get the appraiser into the home so that they can do their appraisal duties. And again, you want to schedule your appraisal as quickly as possible after the home inspection is done, because the next event I want to talk about is your mortgage contingency date. Your mortgage contingency date is the date that the mortgage commitment is due. And every good realtor is aware of the mortgage contingency date. So after the home appraisal is ordered, the appraisal report comes in to the lender, Manasquan Bank. Your file is then submitted to underwriting. So we want to make sure that home inspection, home appraisal is done in a timely fashion so that we can meet the mortgage contingency date. And I stated before, I'm going to say it again, it is extremely important not to incur any new credit card debt, purchase a new or lease a new car or anything like that without speaking to your loan officer first. All right, so now you've got your mortgage commitment. And if there's any conditions on the mortgage commitment that need to be satisfied, your loan officer will assist you with that. Once the conditions are satisfied, then we basically are going to, wait till the closing date occurs. And again, the real estate agent is going to be involved with you. They're going to assist with any inspections that need to be done in the home, such as a smoke detector inspection, a carbon monoxide inspection. All these inspections need to be passed so that you can close and occupy the home. Another role of the real estate agent is prior to closing, they'll advise you on how to switch the utilities into your name. They will also schedule and accompany you with the final walkthrough of the home, which usually occurs right before closing. So for example, if you're closing at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, you and your realtor will do a walkthrough of that home in the morning to make sure that everything is the way it should be. There's no damages that occurred to the house after it was inspected and so forth. So that's the purpose of the final walkthrough, to make sure that the house is in the condition it was promised to be delivered to you. Okay, I'm done with the role of the real estate agent and their different duties. So I'm going to pass it over to Bob, and he's going to discuss the roles of the attorney in the home buying process.
Thank you, Ralph. Again, as Ralph mentioned, and I briefly touched on before, your attorney does play a major role in this process. Initially reviewing the contract to make sure that, again, he's protecting you as the buyer. He will order title insurance. Title insurance is something that's ordered where they will look at your property, look at the owners of the property, make sure that there are no other liens on the property, so that when you do finally purchase your home, the home is yours, aside from, of course, the mortgage at a bank or any other financial institution will place on it when you take a loan. They're also going to order a survey. So when you get to your house, you'll look at the house, you make an offer on the house, you'll see the beautiful home, you're on the lot. The survey shows you your meets and bounds, which is really the area where your property begins and ends. You'll see the survey shows where the house is located on the property. Your attorney makes sure it has the proper setbacks. It should show if there's a pool, if there's a patio, to show anything on that property. And again, to make sure that it complies with the town guidelines. He's also going to look and review the closing costs with you. He will look at he or she will look at the closing costs with you, as well as Manasquan Bank will also look at the closing costs, and we'll discuss that with you as well when you get your what's called closing disclosure, or CD. And last but not least, again, as Ralph mentioned, what you will do is the day comes, you do your inspection, you walk through in the morning, you look at the house, you then go to the closing, sign the papers. get your money, go look at your house, and I think that's pretty much about it as far as the attorney. The one thing that I do want to mention, and again, you can't start early enough to go look at this type of home or the area. Again, don't be bashful. Save now, save often, and save more. If you're renting today and you're paying $1,000 a month and your mortgage payment may be $2,000 a month, my advice to you would be start saving that additional $1,000 a month now and see how that affects your lifestyle. Or maybe save as much as you can where your lifestyle is not affected. So this way, when you do finally go for the mortgage and you do buy a house, you know that you'll comfortably be able to afford it. As Ralph mentioned before, the last thing you want to do is get tied down to a mortgage payment that is tough every month. Again, there's one thing to stretch, but there's one thing to live paycheck to paycheck for the house. If your water heater goes, if your refrigerator goes, your washer, your dryer, you want to make sure that you have the financial wherewithal in order to have those things replaced. So again, the advice is start saving now as a test. You will know after a few months if you can afford the amount you're looking at or what you can actually afford. And again, it's something where you can discuss it with us here at the bank, and we'll be able to sit down and say, here's how much your payment is per thousand borrowed. So you'll be able to understand if you borrow $100,000 and it's $6 per thousand, your payment's $600 a month, plus your taxes and insurance. We'll be able to give you numbers. And again, don't be shy there either. Stay in contact with your loan officer. Ask the questions via email, via call, text, whatever you would like, because we're readily accessible, and get the information you need to make an educated decision. Everybody knows a friend. Everybody has somebody in the business. Everybody, believe me, that's great to listen to Uncle John or Aunt Mary and everybody else, but go back to the professionals, whether it's the realtor, the banker, get the right information. It's very, very important.
Absolutely,
You know,
Bob. Oh, sorry, go
I
ahead,
just
Ralph.
wanted to add, you're all first time home buyers, so ask questions. Not only, no question is silly. Ask any question to your realtor, to your attorney, to the loan officer. You want to be sure of what you're getting into, and you want to understand the whole process. Um, there was one thing that I just want to go back and talk about regarding the role of the realtor. When I said selecting a realtor, you want to, inquire if somebody is part of a team, they work with a team. Maybe the realtor you're using doesn't have a team that they work with, but every realtor's office, when somebody is not available, somebody will cover for them. So I don't want you to think that you should only choose an attorney, a realtor that works with a certain team. Anybody in that office will cover for the realtor that might not be available.
Good point. Those are very good points, Ralph. And I know we're jumping around a little bit here, but I also want to mention that keep in mind, obviously, you're either current clients of the bank, potential clients of the bank. Either way, we're glad you're here. Love to have you. If you're not, we obviously want you to bank with us. We want you to borrow from us. We want to be your bank. If for some reason you see an ad, you see something out there that says, hey, I've seen this ad from XYZ lender online, it looks really great, have us take a look at it. We'll be more than happy to tell you that the rate is good, but you're paying these fees. That's why the rate's so low. As a consumer, this is a very, very difficult time. And there's a lot of information. You're going to be bombarded with information. You want to trust the professionals at each level for what they do. You can't do it all. We're all not internet attorneys. We're all not internet bankers. The best information is to go back to the professionals. Again, whether it's the banker, the realtor, the attorney, go to the experts. So.
Great. Thank you, guys. And like they said, we do have a great team here at Manasquan Bank that can help you every step of the way. And we also have some really amazing products to help our clients save for their future home. I know we talked about how big saving is. So our Infinity suite of products actually earn you impressive rates for normal tasks that you may already do. So I highly encourage you all to take a look at these offerings. Our newest addition to this lineup is our Infinity Pro Plus account, which earns an impressive 5% APY on balances up to $25,000 when the qualification qualifications are met. And all of those qualifications and other information about the products can be found on our website, and that's www.manasquan.bank. And our website is here, but you guys don't have to take a screenshot of this because we will be following up after this call with all of the key sites that they'll be available to you. But as Bob mentioned earlier, Credit Karma, Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, and that Home Buyer Dream program that Ralph discussed earlier, they can all be accessed through the sites listed here. And with all that said, thank you guys so much for sharing these great tips. And we have received quite a few questions from all of our viewers. So I'd love to take some time to move on to those questions we received now, if that's okay with you, Bob and Ralph.
Sure.
Sure.
Great. So one of the first questions is there a difference in loans when buying your first home versus buying an investment property?
Ralph?
So, yeah, there is a difference. Regarding our first-time home buyer program, that is offered for your primary residence or your vacation home. If you happen to be renting and your first home purchase is a vacation home, our first-time home buyer program will apply to a vacation home as well. It does not apply to a purchase of an investment property. And there are differences between mortgages for a owner-occupied or second home as compared to an investment property. Investment properties normally require a minimum down payment of 20%, and the interest rates on investment properties are much higher than on a primary or secondary home.
Great, thank you. And our next question is, do we provide mortgages for purchasers outside of New Jersey here at Manasquan Bank?
So we are basically a lender, a statewide lender. Our primary areas are Monmouth, Ocean, Middlesex counties. We also lend in the other counties as well. However, we have gone out of state for current clients of the bank. So if you have an existing relationship with the bank, check with us. We'll see if we could go to that state. We'll see if we're able to lend for you. But we have done that, Juliana, for clients of the bank.
Awesome. And I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So we're just going to do one more question before we wrap up. And that was, how do I make home buying feel more possible?
Well, I'll start off, Bob. I mean, you want to be involved with your loan officer early on. You know, you want, if you're going to buy a home a year from now, you can start getting the process going now with your loan officer, because if we have a certain amount of time to work with, once we run your credit and look at your financial documents and so forth, we can tell you what we can do for you now or what we can't do for you now, but we can steer you and help you so that when you're looking to purchase a home in the future, you'll be ready. You know, we'll tell you, just like Bob said, you know, how much you're going to need to save for the down payment and the closing costs. You know, right now, you're not sure of any of this information, and this is what we're here for. We're here to educate you so that you're prepared either now or for later. And you know, a lot of people think, oh, I'll never buy a home. I'm not going to be able to qualify. You'd be surprised what we can approve you for. Don't be shy and don't hesitate to reach out to a loan officer early on in the process so that we can get you ready for a purchase of a home in the future.
Great. I like that, Ralph. The other thing, a few things I want to mention. Basically, the home buying process, we tried to condense and provide talking points and have a brief discussion here within an hour. This process many times takes more than an hour. It's a lot more complicated. We try to have a nice, concise explanation to help you get started in the process. So this is really just the tip of the iceberg. I just want to tell you that we recently celebrated our 150th anniversary. We've been doing this a long time. I know Ralph and I don't look a day over 140, but with that being said, we make all of our decisions here. Everything is made in our corporate office in Wall Township. We're located here. We use local appraisers. We're very well entrenched with the community. We know our areas. We know where we lend. Out-of-state lenders many times, or online lenders, don't have that. We have that distinct advantage. We also have the distinct advantage, much like tonight, you have the opportunity to see us. You have the opportunity to meet with us. If you want to schedule an appointment to come in and talk to us, like Ralph said, if you want to come in and talk to us today, and you may not be buying for the next 1, 2, 3 years, but come in. We'll be more than happy to have one-on-ones, spend as much time as you need in order to get you comfortable with this process. Again, it's probably the most single important purchase of your life. So we're just trying to help you be ready for that time. So.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. We'd like to extend a sincere thank you to all of us who joined us this evening for the seminar. We hope that you found the information shared here useful as you navigate the home buying process. And a post-event survey will be sent to you shortly to capture your valuable feedback and provide an opportunity for you to ask any questions that you may have missed during the seminar. Once again, thank you all for attending, and we wish you a wonderful rest of your evening. Bob, did you
Juliana,
have any? Yeah, go
can I
ahead.
ask just one quick question? I'm so sorry.
Absolutely.
Will the attendees have the opportunity to submit other questions through the survey, or is there an email address that will be given that we can answer other questions that they can,
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, we're always here to answer any questions. This presentation itself will be shared with everyone. So Bob and Ralph's contact information is in that as well if you guys want to reach out to them personally. And you can contact anyone here at the bank and we'll be more than happy to answer all of your questions.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for attending. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
your
everyone.
time.